Always remember who you are. Hey. If you wanna be the girl in the picture, well, you gotta meet her. Hello. Open up your eyes. It's time you realize now is the time to shine. It's time to shine, baby.
Hi, good evening, everyone. How are you? We are live. I'm Nicole Hamilton from Turnout Radio, and I am so excited to be sitting down with the lovely, the delightful, the delicious, the everything, Kyla Musselman and Jennifer Thiessen from Tits and Teeth podcast. You see how my voice kind of just went low and high all at the same time? How are you both doing? So good to see you.
Oh, so good to see you. So happy to be here. I'm good. It's been a beautiful rainy day and it smells like spring. Like, it's great.
Does
How
it
about
smell
you?
like spring? It smells like spring where you are. Girl, I have no idea because I'm inside, so I can't smell the spring.
Oh, I've cracked all the windows. They're all open and I love that smell. So it's just like I'm feeding on
Okay.
it right now.
So you're getting that fresh smell of grass and rain and all of those things.
Mhm.
Okay. Jennifer, what about you? Are you smelling the rain?
I am not smelling the well, kind of. I'm actually in Florida at the moment, and so we're full blown summer. So I'm smelling the sunshine, baby.
You are
And it
smelling
feels
the
good.
sunshine. I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. And I'm so excited because we came together. This has been, I think, a collaboration in the making, wouldn't you say?
I absolutely would say, yeah. The first time that we met you, Nicole, Kyla and I left, and we just felt like you were a soul sister, like a little kindred spirit. So we knew that from when we met that this was going to happen again and again and again because it was meant to be.
It really was. It really was. And for anyone who's tuning in and doesn't know who these lovely individuals are and don't know who I am, again, we're from Tits and Teeth podcast and Turnout Radio, and we are here this evening. I almost said morning. I almost said morning. To a certain degree, it feels like morning, right?
Honestly, I've been up all day. I'm like, no, this is
What day
nighttime.
is it? What day is it? But we are here and so delighted to talk to all of you about our own pathways to self-care. And there's so much to talk about, right, Kyla and Jennifer? So much.
It is an endless roller coaster, so why not talk about it?
Yeah, let's talk about it. Let's start with weathering the storm, because I think given the climate that we're all sitting in right now, many of us, all of us are heavy due to the climate surrounding COVID-19, heavy due to, I know I can certainly say it, I've spoken with the both of you, my spirit has been heavy due to the police brutality that I'm seeing in the news. There's a heaviness that is falling on all of us. And how do we weather that storm? And I think I'd love for us to start there. Let's talk about that, weathering the storm.
Yeah, well, thank you for bringing all of that up as well, Nicole, because I feel like people listening at the moment, that's what I've been seeing on social media. That's what I've been, surrounded by as well. So I thank you for bringing it up and starting us there, because that's what we're all feeling at the moment. Knowing that we were going to talk about weathering the storm, especially with this COVID time, I had pulled an excerpt, which I want to read to everyone, which I thought was really beautiful. It says, "We're not in the same boat." I heard that we're all in the same boat, but it's not like that. We are in the same storm, but not in the same boat. Your ship can be shipwrecked and mine can't, or vice versa. For some, quarantine is optimal, a moment of reflection or reconnection. And for others, it is a desperate crisis. For others, facing loneliness. So for some, it's peaceful and a rest time and a vacation. And for others, it's simply not like that. So we're all on different ships looking to survive. So let's everyone navigate their route with respect, empathy, and responsibility. And I thought that was a beautiful excerpt. It was done anonymously. But you know, we're all in this together, but everyone's circumstances are so different. And I think it's really important to be mindful of that at this time and navigate through this time mindfully with empathy and love, and approaching, you know, every day from sitting right there. And so while we've got that in mind, I wanted to know, Kyla, how have you, my friend, managed to obtain a bit of a better connection with people at this time while we're also disconnected?
Inquiring minds want to know, Kyla. Come on now.
Ooh, you just want to know. I will be the first to admit that I am not necessarily the best person to stay in contact with everybody. I run around and our life is so busy and we're moving from place to place. I'm always like, oh, I need to contact that person. And then I forget and I end up doing a million things. And so this time for sure, I have, as soon as I think, oh, I need to text somebody, oh, I need to call somebody, I do it right away. I was saying that I've never really felt this close to my community. Our community is so strong, so small. But since we're all sitting and since we're all creative people, whenever anybody's like, hey, I have an idea, let's do something, it's like, yes, let me help you. Let me put forth anything that I can. Let me give you some energy that maybe you need right now that I have, and it might go vice versa the other way another time. In terms of empathy, I think we're all feeling right now. We're all feeling people. We're all, at least what I see on my social media, and we'll talk about that later, is a lot of empathy, is a lot of trying to take action, is a lot of good vibes trying to be thrown out there in such a heavy weighted time.
Mhm.
And that's nice to see. It makes me love the people that I surround myself with. Like, aren't I so lucky that these like wonderful, full-hearted people are around? I don't know. What do you think, Nicole? Like, how are you feeling at this time and showing empathy and connection?
I think that, you know, it's I've been pulled in so many different directions in terms of what I've been witnessing. That is, with regards to how we've been showing empathy. I love the action that I have been seeing in terms of individuals getting out there and supporting one another, dropping food off to, you know, individuals that are in need, you know, giving of ourselves, money, all those things that I'm seeing, the wonderful calls to action that are happening in terms of being able to provide funding for artists, and I'm saying artists because I am one, but even beyond that, for our first responders, et cetera. I'm loving what I'm seeing in that respect. What I do also see, though, is a lot of fear in place of empathy, right? I remember going to, you know, the grocery store probably a couple of weeks ago and seeing individuals just afraid to look at one another, afraid to touch one another, afraid to be near one another. And I spoke with a friend about it, you know, a few days ago, and she was saying the same thing, that she's seeing that there is this lack of wanting to connect to some respect, right? Wanting to be around one another, and even a lack of empathy in some cases. But I will say overall, I do see a large capacity and a large showing of empathy around our world, which I think is beautiful.
Yeah, I agree with you. Now that you say that about being scared, sometimes I forget, like, I'm not doing the grocery shopping in my house. My fiance is doing it for me. And because I have that privilege, because I'm a little nervous. I'm still a little nervous to go out, and I'm a little nervous about how close we're all getting to each other. But I do love taking a walk. And so that you're so far away from people and you're on the sidewalk, and a lot of people don't want to feel like they're being awkward, so they will be like, hi. Like, I'm moving around, but
Yeah.
don't worry, I'm gonna move for you at this time. And then sweet, like, older people on the sidewalk, I'm like, young people, get off the sidewalk, let them have the sidewalk, let them walk in a straight line.
Didn't you have a beautiful lady on the other side of the street, Kai? Just be like, hello, social distance, hello.
She was like, hi, how are you? I'm just gonna give you a faraway hug. And we're like,
It's
Thank
like an air
you.
hug, an air hug.
Air hug, yes, connection in any way possible, right? And yeah, there's some fear, but there's some way to combat those fears, which is what I need to remember too.
There
Mhm.
definitely is. There's so many different ways, and I think what's important is that we all go at our own pace. You
Mhm.
know, I continue to keep reminding myself of that. Go at my own pace. Whenever I need to take a break and stop, I'm stopping because weathering the storm with all of the things that we're dealing with, all of the things I've just mentioned, is huge. It's heavy. And because we're all living different realities, we need to consider the fact that what's right for me may not be right for you, Jennifer, or right for you, Kyla. So I need to be sure that I'm paying very close attention to what Nicole needs in the moment. And if that means that what Nicole needs in the moment is just to shut off the world, then that's going to be my way of weathering the storm in that moment. And if what I need in that moment is to sit down and watch some Little House on the Prairie and eat some chips, then that is what I need to do in that moment to weather the storm. So I think we have to go at our own pace. And I said Little House on the Prairie because that's one of my shows, side note. But we've all got to do what we need to do to weather the storm and step into our own space of comfort.
Mhm.
We always say on the podcast, you do you, boo, because
Yeah.
I love what you're saying, because you're talking about, obviously we started the conversation with being empathetic towards others, understand that people are in different situations while we're all going through this, but you mentioned being also empathetic to yourself as well as others, and I think that that's a really important point, especially when we can so easily go to a place of fear. We can go to fear or love.
Mm.
And so it's reminding ourselves to come from a place of love. And that is being kind to yourself first, so you can put it out there to the world.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, that's my favorite word. That is my favorite word. That word is so huge. And if, yeah, like you
Which
said,
word?
love.
Oh,
Hey.
Love will
like
keep us
which one?
together. I love it. That's my word. And it's so important, yeah, that we're extending it. How much are we giving it to ourselves? What are we doing to extend love to ourselves? That's the big part, right? What are we doing? Continue to ask ourselves that. What are we doing to extend love to ourselves?
I love that.
Da,
Yeah.
da, da.
I was
That's the
gonna
big
say, I'm like,
question.
uh, uh.
But I'm curious to know, because I'm not with you both on a daily. What are you doing to extend love to yourself, Jennifer? What's that big love thing that Jennifer does for herself?
Here's the thing, guys. I like sunshine. I like people. People give me energy, and I like to dance, and I like to learn more about my craft. That interests me and excites me, and so I am turning the volume up on that, and I'm trying to actively place things in my day that make me happy. And I'm sure we'll talk about figuring out what my purpose is as a human being, and staying connected to that purpose, and actively putting those things in my day to day. So that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing on the daily, or trying at least. I'm being forgiving of all the things that go
Mm,
right and go wrong.
yeah, yeah,
Ooh.
that's awesome. And what about you, Kyla?
I mean, Jen and I are pretty similar. I was like, oh, yep, check, check. Um, I love being snuggly and around my partner and waking up to him in the morning. I mean, like, as a time to be grateful for this, we don't always get to spend as much time together because we're both traveling and working. And so this is nice. And I love the sun. Oh, but I sit back all day dancing. I'm dancing. I mean, like more now than maybe
Mhm.
necessarily at a different time when, again, we're in shows and running around. And so that's been so much fun.
Yeah,
And yeah,
it really has. And
those
I
are
just
the
want
things.
to shed a light on something. And thank you for those of you who are tuning in. We have a listener, Nordine. She says, hola. She says, hey. And she also said, yes, go at your own pace, Nordine
Mhm.
said. So agree with that, right? Yeah,
Mhm.
You do
go
you,
at your
boo.
own pace. Do
Mhm.
what you need to do. Thank you, Nordine, for sharing that. I like that you're snuggly. That's good. I'm
I'm
a snuggly girl too.
with specific people. Like I have a wall sometimes, and then Jen for sure is the person. She was like, no, 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 no. You're coming here, you're giving me a hug. And so Jen and I are very snuggly too. She's like, get that wall down, girl. Hi, how are you?
Yeah, I'm a snuggly person too. You know what I've found? The older that I've gotten, I don't think that this existed to a the huge degree that it should have when I was much younger. But I found that the older that I have gotten, the more engaged I am with loving who Nicole Hamilton is. And the more engaged I am with recognizing my strengths and my inner beauty. Yeah, I'm going to say it because I feel as human beings, we need to recognize the fact that we are blessings on this earth, that every single one of us has a passion, every single one of us has a purpose for being here. And in that light, I'm recognizing more and more, especially as we are sitting in this season, the fact that I have a purpose. And in light of that, I'm going to go at my own pace. I'm going to show myself self-love. I'm going to weather the storm by showing that to myself and others. And in the midst of that, and this is something I shared on Blessed One has a wonderful show called Momentum. And we were speaking about this, and I told her the biggest thing that I have been doing for myself is giving myself self-forgiveness. Giving myself, because you know what, as artists, sometimes it's and not even as artists, as human beings. Sometimes we don't forgive ourselves when we don't get certain things done during the day. Listen, this is quarantine. Okay? We need to give ourselves some self-forgiveness. If you didn't get through those things that you need to do, forgive yourself. You've
Guess
got
what?
the next day.
Tomorrow. Exactly. You got tomorrow. You're not going anywhere.
Kyla, Kyla said, "You are not going anywhere."
Not going anywhere.
It's true, right? Forgive yourself and keep moving forward. Know that there is more time that's coming our way, right?
I mean, I was going to say, speaking of time, Nicole, you, this is a meeting or so ago, and you introduced us to time blocking.
Oh, yeah.
Could you talk to us a bit about what time blocking is?
Oh, okay. So I've been very excited about time blocking. And the reason why I've been excited about time blocking is because when we first went into quarantine, I don't know about you both, but I felt a little, there were so many different things that I was feeling. I felt sad. I felt the heaviness and the weight of what's going on in the world. I also felt like this is an opportunity for me to have that break at home, to think about myself inwardly, what I'm giving, how I'm showing up in the world. And after a few days, I literally forgot what day it was. And I felt disorganized. I was waking up. I'm like, is it Sunday? I'm confused. Is it Monday? I was so confused. And then I was watching a live by Elizabeth Correa, wonderful speaker, who was talking about the importance of time blocking. And what she shared was so significant. And it's really that you can organize your days or your time into days, months, weeks, whatever it is that works best for you. And with the intention of ensuring that you've literally, quote unquote, blocked out certain parts of your day that are dedicated to certain things. So I got my chalkboard out and I wrote down, from 9 to 10, that's my time of prayer and meditation. And from 10 to 12, that's where I'm working on things like Turnout Radio. And then from 12 to 1, that's where I'm sitting down and eating my, whatever. And so I blocked out my days and I felt more organized with a little more structure in my day. I felt it. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you that every single day I was like, I kept to everything that was on that list.
Yeah, I was wondering if you threw it. Did you ever just, you made the list and then did you ever just throw it to the wind?
Jennifer, listen, girl.
Tell me.
Listen, girl. There were times, where I had to throw it to the wind because it might have been a day where it's a little heavy. And I thought, okay, this is a day where I need to take a break. And that's where the self-forgiveness comes in. We can time block our days in order to allow for some structure to take place. And this is my own pathway to self-care that has been helping me. Mm-hmm. And if you don't get to those tasks, forgive yourself. Like Kyla said, tomorrow's coming. right? We ain't going nowhere. Tomorrow's coming, right? So, yeah, time blocking. Time blocking
Mhm.
has been my thing. Thank you for asking about that, Kyla.
Oh, no, it's great. Maybe I should time block. I have a notebook and a calendar that I like to go between the two
Yes.
because I am that person. I like to see my week at a glance and be like, because I'm a scheduler and I will pick Tuesday. I'm like, guess what? Tuesday is for doing absolutely nothing. There's nothing on that schedule. I'm not doing it. There you go. I've done it like a week at a glance. And talking about especially scheduling your work time. So one of my best friends is a teacher, and right now she's teaching from home, and she can continually get messages or whatever, maybe past 9 to 5. And so she ends up working so much longer in a day because she's home and people have access to her a little bit longer. And finally, she was like, no, 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 no. I work from 9 to 5, just like a normal day, even though my day is spent at home. I need to block out that time for work and have a semblance of home life, well, like actual home life, not home work life, on either end of those. And I was like, yes, that's a perfect reminder. Like, just because you're available doesn't mean that you're working at that time.
Yeah, yeah. And I love that you said that too, because have both of you had any time during this? I have to laugh because there are some times where, someone might call and be like, "Where were you? I couldn't get in touch with you." And I know that you weren't doing anything, Nicole. How come we're all home? Why aren't you available to talk to me right now? You know what I mean?
Because I didn't want to. That's a thing too.
That's funny. I mean, that's the crazy thing too, is that everyone expects that we're available, and so then you end up being available to so many people, and it's stressful.
Mhm.
So that's another thing for all of that. But I love. I wrote it as a note, Nicole. I love what you said earlier about how are you showing up in the world. I was
Yes.
like, yes, that is an important thing to take note of. I know, and I love that you've introduced us to time blocking. And even going further on that note, is how do we align our purpose with our time blocking? Is what we're putting in our day aligning with our overall purpose? And if your purpose is the greater good, is if it's to serve others, if it's just to follow your curiosity, that's all well and good, but if you don't put that in your day, it's not going to show up in your life.
Well said.
And
Well said.
so it just goes back to what you said, like, how are you showing up on the day, but for yourself? That doesn't mean how you showing up for other people. Like we said earlier, you got to look after you first, and so how are you showing up? How, are you putting in all the things that are not only going to make you happy, but are going to serve who you are as a human being? So,
Yeah, yeah. Can I get an amen, please? Because that's so good.
Amen.
That is that is so good. And I just want to share here because we have some wonderful listeners. Lydia, I hope I'm saying that correctly. Lydia has shared that time has slowed down and focus on what is important. Thank you for sharing that comment, Lydia. So true. We need to focus on what is important for us, right?
isn't that
Yeah.
such an interesting thing at this moment? I think going through COVID, I hope to come out a better human coming out of this time. And isn't it crazy just having kind of a blank schedule and looking at it and being like, wow, was what I was so busy doing, was that really that important? Or are there other things like that are more important, that mean more to me?
Yeah.
And do I then need to focus on those things? And I think, thank you for that comment, Lydia, because I totally agree. Let's focus in to the things that make us feel good and perhaps make others feel good.
Yeah. And you know what? I have to share this with you both because this has been a little exciting thing for me, okay? Okay, are you ready?
So ready.
Okay. So when we talk about self-care, and this is really silly, you're going to be like, all that build up for this. I got to tell you that, as I've been journeying through this place of self-care during COVID, I tried something new. I made bread for the first time. I've never made bread. And I have to tell you that getting my hands and kneading the dough, getting in there, putting on a little bit of, jazz music and being in my space was so comforting for me. And in that time of the 2 hours, I burned it, by the way, but that's a side note. But in that 2 hours that I spent making this bread, it was this pathway to self care that we're talking about. It was so huge for me because everything else dropped off. Kyla and Jennifer, everything else that I need to focus on with work, whatever. I was just focusing on learning something new, playing with something new, and giving myself some time to just breathe.
I love playing. I
Mhm.
constantly, I mean, bless, we're in theater, we get to play all the time, but so many people don't play. And
Yeah.
my partner is making bread too. And it's something, as I'm watching him do it, it's kind of powerful. Like, who knew making bread was so easy? Like,
Who knew?
I can do it. I literally, like, it's 3 things. You put it together and it's magical. And it's so like, huh, what else can we do?
Right. Well, for some people, in my case, it, as I said, it came out very flat and very burnt.
But that was your first time.
My first time, hey, I could use it for a coaster. That's all that I knew, right? I made it, and that was what was most important to me. That was part
Yes.
of my self-care journey, giving myself something to be able to look forward to.
I
Mhm.
love that. I love, have you guys ever heard of earthing as well?
No.
It just reminded me when you said like just getting your hands into the dough and how kind of cathartic that is. Earthing is just like when you're next to a patch of grass, actually taking your shoes off and getting your feet actually in the grass, or like just connecting with Mother Earth in some way, shape, or form. And it's supposed to just be really good for us. And so it reminded me of that with the bread. You're physically doing it, and then you get a beautiful outcome. It's awesome. But
But okay, so for those who want to know or who do care, and I'm hoping that you do, the next time that I made the bread, which was, about a week later, it rose, it was beautiful, it was soft, and it was delish.
See?
So yeah, so I
you
was
did
able
it.
to do it. I was able to do
You
it.
did it.
But coming back to earthing, I think that's brilliant. It allows you to be one, Jennifer, with the soil, to be one with the earth, the world, and just to be able to, again, shed off everything else.
I mean, I'm from Sydney, Australia, so we feel like that with the ocean. I grew up on the beaches, and so we always say, when you're in the water, when you're diving under a huge wave, there's something, you can't focus on all the problems that happen that day, all the stresses and anxieties. You have to just literally focus on your breathing, go underneath the wave, and come out the other side. That's all that you get to be connected to, as well as Mother Earth. So it's always cathartic.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. What about you, Kyla? I mean, other than the fact that, you've got this great human that you are with that does so well, we're hearing about the wonderful things that your human, your partner
He
does for
does.
you.
He does.
What makes you smile? And I mean, I mentioned the bread. I mentioned the
Yeah.
bread for me. And Jennifer, mentioned, I love that, the earthing. What about you? Is there something in particular that you haven't, that the world doesn't know about with regards to Kyla? Give us the exclusive.
I don't know. Honestly, perhaps I don't think I'm struggling to find it. I'm quite content. I've actually kind of figured out that I'm an introvert extrovert during this time of like, I like to be loud and out there, but I do really like being at home, and I like where I am, and I like sitting and being quiet. And a lot of people find that a weird thing about me, for sure, that I like to sit and be quiet because I can be quite loud. But I love that time to myself, and there's a lot of I would say reflection and a little opening up of, again, what can this time be, what can this week be, rather than what it isn't. I'm kind of focusing on what could it be. What
Yeah.
ways can it lift me up?
Yeah,
And some
that's
days aren't great, but of course, focus on the good.
right. And we should allow ourselves to feel that, right? On
Mhm.
those days that aren't good, we should
Mhm.
allow ourselves to feel that.
Oh, I cried. I think
Mhm.
I took a dance class on Tuesday and the music started and he started to talk. I cried for an hour. I turned my camera off and I was like, "Ugh," and I cried through the whole dance class
Yeah.
and I felt great afterwards.
Yeah, we have to allow ourselves to feel that with the amount of different emotions that every single one of us are going through right now. If we need
Mhm.
to spend the day crying, do it, right?
Mhm.
If you need to spend the day doing whatever it is, but we need to allow ourselves to feel what we're feeling. And I think that also serves to assist us in developing and growing through this period, and also doing exactly what Jennifer was mentioning or reminding us about um, that whole thing about what are we going to look like after COVID?
Mhm.
What are we going to look like? Jennifer mentioned, I want to be better. I know I want to be better. I agree with you, Jennifer. I want to, after this, I want to know that there are things that I've learned about myself and my world. I want to know that I've learned how to love people better. I want to know that I've learned to be, and all of those things. I want to be a better individual. Yeah. So I love that you've shared that, Kyla, as well.
Thank
I
you.
think there was a gorgeous quote that Oprah says, and it's the biggest gift that we can get is the gift of time. And
Mm,
that was her slogan pre-COVID. And it's a beautiful reminder for me to reflect on that, because all of a sudden here we are with an abundance of time. And what can we learn
wow.
with that?
You can
What are
learn
we
so
doing with
much.
it? What are we doing with it? I feel like we're in church because Nordine, one of our listeners, just said, Amen. Um,
Amen, Nordine.
I mean,
yeah,
Oprah, right? Come on. Nordine, she gets us.
she gets
We
it.
love
And
you.
Nordine also shared it's about being intentional. This is an earlier
Oh,
comment that
mhm.
that she had shared as well. It is indeed about being intentional, with our time, with what we're doing, with our purpose, with all of those things, right?
And
Mhm.
navigating through it all mindfully, being
Yes.
aware of our presence, whether it's on social media or whether it's just your presence to your partner or to yourself. Being mindful of how we're navigating day to day is a beautiful practice. And gratitude. Let's be
Yes.
honest.
Let's be honest. Well,
Mhm,
well, for
mhm.
those of you who are just tuning in, just joining us, I'm Nicole Hamilton from Turn Out Radio, and I'm here with Kyla and Jennifer from Tits and Teeth podcast. You two are something else. Let me just tell you.
You're
You,
something else.
you are something else in a very good way. This is our second time on air together. And when we were all talking about the pathways to self-care and recognizing the importance of speaking about it not only in this season but all the time in and outside of this season, I was so glad to do it with the both of you. Because I feel like you both are very bright lights. And I'm not just saying that because you're here. I talk about you behind your back as well. Um, but in a good way.
Ditto,
But
girlfriend. Ditto.
Mhm.
Feelings mutual.
oh, well, thank you. This is all about love, folks. Those of you who are tuning in.
Woo!
But yeah, this pathway to self-care is something that is such a huge topic. And I think one of the things that we also want to be mindful of is the many resources that are out there and available to us. Because how many doctors, nurses, teachers of all kinds, chiropractors, etc., have been giving of themselves via online services, free classes, free courses, etc. There are all these resources that are available to us to access now.
Mhm.
Honestly, it's phenomenal. I mean, what I will say is two wonderful things about that. I'll start with the negative. The negative is that unfortunately, it can be overwhelming, and that can produce feelings of guilt,
Mm.
which I want anyone listening to release those. It's okay, friends. You don't need to, because there are such wonderful resources, and they are like available almost every hour of every day. And all of a sudden, I do end up feeling guilty for not taking this XYZ, but that's okay. That's okay, because you can't keep up with them all. I'm sure you guys have felt that as well. The absolute positive thing is that I can use time blocking and go through my week and figure out what's important to me as a human being, what is going to produce good things for others, and how can I put those things in my week. And there are so many resources that are available that excite my curiosity that I can go through and really pick them out and have it highlighted throughout my week. And then I'm really looking forward to those little things, as opposed to being so overwhelmed and looking at everything that's available. I'm able to focus in, be intentional and mindful with my time, keywords as we've been going on here, and really focus in on those things that make me feel really good and make me excited and excite my curiosity and perhaps ignite some new learning.
I love that. Can we talk about the overwhelming thing though, because that's huge right there? Like, what are your thoughts, Kyla, on how overwhelming all of the social media, the influx can
Oh
be?
yeah. I have definitely been on social media, like scrolling and looking too much. And I recognize that throughout the day too. I'm like, why am I on this again? Why am I looking at everything, especially if I'm having a down day and you're looking at other people being productive, quote unquote, that day, and obviously showing the good parts of themselves that they want to share with people, and that's great. Social media is such a nice place that you can be positive and show the world the things that you're doing. And if I'm sitting there like having a bad day, scrolling through and then starting to feel bad about myself about not being productive that day, like that doesn't help anybody. I constantly think of Karamo from Queer Eye made a post very early on in this quarantine, and he said that exact thing. He was like, what you guys are doing and all your workouts, and I'm seeing cooking, it's just not lining up with how I'm feeling. And I need to put this out there as well, that like, we're not all doing super well during this time and feeling great during this time. And so I think about that post a lot, and it's good to remember this time and always that social media is a place where you want to put your best qualities about yourself, and remember that it's not always that behind the veiled curtain, and just placing that in the back of your mind as you look at that happen. And again, as we've said a million times, forgiving yourself. Maybe you turn the phone off that day if you're having a bad day, and puzzles have no judgment except that last piece that won't go in.
Okay, that's good. I need to write that one down. But then, so to post or not to post, right? Because that's the huge thing now, where a lot of us are feeling the overwhelming energy of feeling like we need to keep up because, like you said, like both of you said, people are putting classes out there. There are things that are going on. People are posting. It looks like everyone's active. So what am I doing in this season? And how am I being active? So to post or not to post?
Well, what do you think, Nicole?
Yeah, you start. You threw it out there.
Well, I'm going to come back to something I said before, which is, go at your own pace. If I will say that I think that it is absolutely wonderful that in this season, and myself included, that I am learning new things. I'm using the time as wisely as I can to be able to encounter some self-development. So I'm learning how to be a better teacher, and I'm learning how to be a better journalist, and I'm studying, and I am doing online classes. I'm doing those things so that there's some self-development that is occurring during this time. So for me, when I think about the whole to post or not to post, I also think about to be online or to not be online. So I'm online when I need to be, when it serves a purpose to. And there is a certain weight or feeling that you do need to post often when you are in media, and I'm sure you both can relate to this, or a feeling that you need to post often when you are in the arts, etc., that we have to show everybody what we're doing. But I don't want to fall into that trap. I just want to do me. I want to do Nicole. And if it feels right to post, I'm going to share that. And if you don't hear from me from now until Christmas, because that feels right for me, that's what's going to happen. So we got to go at our own pace, whatever feels right.
Mm-hmm.
Preach. Kai, what do you think?
I just do think about, I agree. It's always, I have in the back of my mind always, you do you, just do what you want. But sometimes pressures and there are pressures that are nobody has put on you at all. They're all imaginary that you've put on yourself, to show and to show and to constantly show. And it's always, do you write it down? Like when you're feeling that, do you write it out? Say you do you, take a moment, like maybe don't post right away, like think about it, and then how you actually feel, and then come back to it? Is that kind of how you go about those steps? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. I wonder, the thing, I guess this isn't a fully developed thought, but in my mind, I don't want to put a lot of energy into the idea of to post or not to post. I don't want to have that as an extra pressure. Am I doing it? Am I not doing it? I think, so I fully do understand what you mean. And I wonder what's the best thing for us all. What do you think, Nicole?
I think I know I'm going to sound like a broken record. The best thing that we can do for ourselves is to go at our own pace.
Yeah, there it is.
Take the advice, Kyla.
The thing is too, when I was in my teens, and even when I was in my 20s, I would say I felt this need to catch up, to make sure that I was always, frequent with doing everything that I needed to, because of what I felt others were expecting of me. And now as I'm getting older, I'm like, no, I can't do that. I can't. I don't have the time. I don't have the energy. I don't have the desire anymore to be able to sit back and say, okay, well, what are others expecting about me? How often do I need to post? No. If I can't or don't want to post for weeks, it's not going to happen. Even working in media, it's not going to happen, because I need to think about my own self-care. We need to cut out this business of feeling like we have to keep up with what everybody else is doing. We're all here serving a different purpose.
And you will never ever live up to somebody else's expectations or somebody else's guidelines, because that's guidelines for them. So if we're playing into that, we'll never you can't please everyone. But what you can do is listen to what feels right or what feels good for you. I love that you brought up the subjects of relevance. And I heard somebody say it the other day. They were talking about whether or not, if they didn't post, that they were no longer relevant. And I wrote a blog, which will go nowhere. I just journaled about somebody else's feelings about that, because I felt so, it was an artist, and I felt so sad for them in that moment. I was like, no, you're enough. You're absolutely enough. You are relevant. You're relevant when you're sitting in your own room, locked up, and not putting a single thing on social media. You are enough.
Yes.
So whether you post or whether you don't post, you are relevant. You are important. And, we love you all.
Yeah, remember that.
Yeah.
Remember that. And I again, to our listener, Noradine, she's feeling this conversation, because she said, yes, there it is. There it is, right
I had
there.
strong feelings about that one. felt for that person and I was unable to connect with them. So I hope that somebody else is hearing this now, that you are important, you are relevant. You don't need to put something on Instagram for that instant gratification to feel important. You already are. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah, yeah. You know, it's like it's so fast food. It feels like fast food sometimes, social media. You know, that feeling of you got to get in and
And
got to get out. You know,
isn't
got to.
don't they say it's dopamine rush, right? That when you get the notifications, it's like you get a rush of excitement when you get them, and that's a part of the reason why people do it, because they want that continual rush of excitement for people liking or commenting on stuff that they've
Oh,
done.
wow. Okay. So thank you for that.
It's
I've never
McDonald's.
heard that.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
Look at you, go Kai. Get
But
it, girl.
who says, have you had your break today? Is that McDonald's? Who says that? Or Burger King? Okay. Am I aging
I
myself?
don't
Who
know.
says
No,
that?
I know
Okay.
the song, but I
Well,
don't know who it is.
well, whoever says that, yeah, that's what I'm thinking about. Have I had my break today? Because if I haven't, it needs to happen. Those notifications, sometimes it's back to back to back. Sometimes it's just too much. It's too much.
Oh,
Yeah.
somebody else we're speaking to the beautiful Lauren Ritchie, who we had as a guest on our podcast, and she mentioned something which is definitely worthy in this conversation, worthy of a mention. It was about turning the volume up on things as you're scrolling through that excite you, and turning the volume down on things that might have a negative impact
Ooh,
on
that's
you.
good,
And I
Lauren
think
Ritchie.
it's in the back of my head all the time. I'll now say to my husband, he'll be like, did you see this? Did this happen? That happened? I was like, actually, I've turned the volume down on that. It doesn't bring me joy. So, there's another one right there.
Yeah. And what brings you joy? And for those of you who are tuned in, let us know. Let us know what is bringing you joy. Let us know your thoughts. We're curious to hear your comments, specifically about your own pathway to self-care, right? You know, I want to hear what everybody is doing.
Yes. If
Yeah.
they have
What's bringing
tips
you
that
joy, baby?
oh gosh, I have forgot to mention we are gardening, and we've done a lot of like from seeds gardening, and they're like little tiny babies, and you have to be very particular with them, and that has been very nice. That as you can see, I like to do my nails, and I'm enjoying getting the dirt under my fingernails and doing all the things, and it feels good, and it's something that
Earthing, baby.
yeah, we're earthing. And like something that we get to do every day. We had talked again to another guest, Ayana Sealy, about making sure that you have rituals and morning practices that really kind of set your day up for success. Like if your ritual in the morning is to very old school, get a coffee, get a paper and read it outside. If that is your like little moment in the morning that sets you up, if it's meditation, it can be as little or as long as you want it to be. But those little things for me, this in the morning, like we get up, we get our coffee, and we like go check the plants and make sure that they're good and water them. It's like this lovely little morning new ritual that we didn't have before.
And
Nicole,
isn't
do
that
you have a ritual?
Yeah.
Well, thank you for asking, Jennifer. I do. Okay, I have a ritual that you're probably going to laugh at a little bit. I did kind of mention it, but it's for me. I love it, and anybody who's very close to me will know this. I love Little House on the Prairie. It just brings me joy. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. Give me some Ma and Pa and Laura any single day. There's something about sitting down and watching that show with a nice cup of hot chocolate, that I just enjoy. It just brings me to this place of just peace. And my other ritual is every single morning, spending that time just in prayer for our world, in prayer and meditation for where I am. Those are my rituals that bring me so, so, so much joy. Everything outside of that tends to be a little more work focused, but those are the things that I hold dear for me. And I'm going to do some more bread making. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it.
I
It's
mean,
going to happen.
we wanted to talk about dipping into what feels good. So that bread
Yeah,
feels good, eh? I
it
have to say.
does. It does. And let's talk about these wonderful comments that individuals are sharing. Thank you so much. Tara Morissette shared that there is a great deal of white noise around trying to distract us from enjoying who we are simply. I love sitting with myself, learning increasingly. I really like me.
Yes.
Tara, I like you too, girlfriend. You're killing
That
it.
is that is beautiful. I really like me.
That's good.
Awesome. Good.
Isn't it an amazing thing when we can really spend that time with ourselves during this season and learn to love ourselves to a higher level?
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, in some ways it's kind of a gift. It's like a little gift that I know that we're not necessarily packaging COVID as a gift because there's so many things about it, but just having a little bit more time to sit with ourselves, a little bit more time to work on ourselves, and a little bit more time to find out what excites us and what's going to set our day up for success. I love that one as well, Kai.
Definitely.
Oh, yeah. You got it.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Tara, for that message. And also Camille Henry, who is listening in, says that my morning coffee by myself. I love that too.
You better do
Yeah.
it by yourself, girl.
Do not talk
Yeah.
to me.
Spend that time on your own. Have that coffee. Have that coffee and just relax. That's a great way to just, again, engage in your own learning about your own pathway to self-care, right? Having that time with your coffee. Also, Nordine, Simon shared, waking up to a new song is her thing.
Oh,
Waking up
that
to a new
sounds
song.
fun.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
let us know
wonderful.
if you've got any good ones,
Yeah.
Nordine.
And also she says making that bread. So I guess she's a bread maker too. I love it. Yeah, that's wonderful. We have another one from Camille Henry who said that online teaching has been stressful, but I have enjoyed learning how to teach and express myself to my students in innovative ways. It's been a struggle, but the accomplishment of getting it done brings joy.
Thank you, Camille.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff to unpack there because definitely teaching online is stressful, and adapting to the new normal is certainly stressful. We spoke recently a little bit about optimism and what that means to us, and the first step is acceptance, and then trying to find joy within once we've accepted our new reality. So, I mean, if you're finding that you're getting joy from the outcome, Camille, then that's awesome. And adapting to the new normal and finding something good and positive and figuring out how the kids that you're teaching are getting something good and positive out of it, that's a wonderful thing. And that's a beautiful mindset to be living in.
It really is. And it sounds like she's on her way there because she shared another comment that a bubble bath with my favorite bath bomb
Yes,
is
Camille.
also her thing. Right? This pathway to self-care is one that we all are on. And although we are all at different markers, some of us might be at the very beginning, some of us are in the middle, some of us we're all trying to figure it out, right? To some capacity, it's about finding out what we need in order to ensure that that journey is one that's productive and efficient and works.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I've gone through a few stages, and obviously Jen knows this because we talk a lot about my feeling. What feels good has shifted and it's moved, and I'm enjoying that. I'm like, oh, at the beginning, I needed to fill my schedule and be so busy. Oh, that doesn't feel so good anymore. So we're gonna move a little bit to this. Like making sure I sweat every day also feels good. And then, you know what? There are some days that we're shifting what feels good kind of every day and sussing it out as we go. And I think that's super important to remember that what felt good last week or 2 weeks ago maybe doesn't feel so good anymore, and that's okay. You can scratch it and start fresh again.
Well, because we're growing as people, hopefully, like especially right now when we're all doing so much learning and learning about ourselves, and so we should continue on that roller coaster because it is a roller coaster. But as we're learning about ourselves, I'm a little bit further in my self-development. So what's going to excite me that week is hopefully going to be different from last week. And again, that's a gift to be able to take that journey. How exciting is that?
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. It's really exciting. And one of the things I think about too that a lot of individuals are saying that they're sharing with me now is the fact that more people are moving to journaling. And that's something that I've never really done. I don't know about the both of you, but I'm finding putting my thoughts down on paper has also been a great part of my pathway to self-care because now I get to visually look at what Nicole is experiencing. So what about the both of you?
And read it back. There's something about like not thinking, writing it all down, and then you let it go and you read it back. And some things maybe that you were so angry about, you're like, oh, that's not such a big deal. Or, oh, look at there is the reason right there. There's the answer right there. Like you have those thoughts in your mind. And sometimes putting them into just a digestible page and being able to go back to that page is so actually, it's educational as well. Like we're just learning ourselves a little bit more.
Agreed. Agreed. What about you, Jennifer? Are you somebody who journals?
I don't necessarily journal as much. Like I said before, if I have strong feelings, I will write them down and it turns into some kind of blog that always will go nowhere. But it's cathartic for me. I like to write. But what I do try and do is write out my gratitudes because that helps put me in a good place. Just reminding, like I said earlier, figuring out figuring out what this time is, not what it isn't, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So figuring out what I'm grateful for on the daily, all the small things. I'm grateful for you ladies right now. I'm grateful for this chat. I feel like I've grown as a human just by saying all these thoughts out loud to other humans. So I think there's power in gratitudes and there's power in words. Words are so, I'm learning more about this, but the words that we speak, the words that we put out into the universe, they're so powerful. So leaning into that.
They really are. And the words that we say to ourselves as well. I love what you said about gratitude as well, because I've found that the more that I walk in that, the more it just shifts the atmosphere for Nicole. I mean, if I'm having a heavy day, and I've had quite a few during this season, looking at what I am exceedingly grateful for, what I have in my life, it just shifts the entire atmosphere for me.
As it should. It just reminds you. It reminds you. It's at the forefront of your brain again. I do want to say I'm obsessed that you keep calling this a season. I need to put that out there. Like this is just a season, and guess what? There'll be a new season. I'm stealing that.
Steal it, girl.
I'm
It's all
stealing that
yours.
one. I'm like, oh, it's just a season. You know what?
Steal it.
The fashions will be doing different next season. It'll be a different season, but this season.
Exactly, right? And you know what? I'm so grateful as we're talking about gratitude, grateful as well for our lovely listeners, those who have tuned in. Thank you so much for all of your comments. We should share this one, right, ladies? This one from Tara Morris said, who shares that friends come and go, family come and go, partners come and go, children grow up and out, but you never leave you. You are forever stuck with Dawn self. Stuck with
with yourself, I'm sure.
Okay. I love it, Tara.
With Dawn self.
She's right though.
Yeah, because you're stuck with you. You go this way, there you are. You go this way, there you are too. You're always going to be there, right? So you never leave you. You're forever stuck.
So you better learn to love yourself. And if there's things to work on, which there should be, that's okay. Let's get a work in.
Yeah.
I love a workout. Let's go.
Yeah, I love a great workout too. And you know, as we're coming to a close very soon, but we want to thank you again for all of you who are listening. Share your thoughts with us. We want to know it doesn't end here. It doesn't end here. We want to know how are you engaging in your pathway to self-care? What are you doing for yourselves? Before we close tonight, that hour went by so quickly. It went by so quickly. Kyla, Jennifer, any last words and thoughts with regards to the pathway to self-care?
Sure, I'll start. I remember every day that the pathway changes and turns and moves. And as long as you are just putting one foot in front of the other and taking the turns when they come and seeing the stop signs and going another way when it comes at you, then that's the best that you can do. And if you're doing your best, again, you're living with you and you're going. It's great.
Love it. Love it. What about you, Jennifer?
I'm just going to riff off Kai. I mean, I think that was beautiful. And I think, yeah, taking other people's expectations and throwing them to the wind, they do not, they're not going to do any good in your space. So hold your space, take your space, and, start aligning yourself with your purpose, figuring out what excites you, follow your curiosity. And as we've said, a recurring theme from today, you do you, boo.
You do you.
Mm.
I love it. And I'm going to leave with the fact that it's really important for you to not only go at your own pace, but also the importance of entering into this space of self-forgiveness. Forgive yourself. And whatever it is that you're able to do or not able to do during this season, forgive yourself and allow yourself to grow, develop in the manner in which that you're supposed to. We all have purpose on this earth. We all have something that we're supposed to do. Even if we haven't figured it out yet, we all have something that we're here to do. So spend this time loving yourself as you're loving other people. Spend this time loving you. And speaking of love, I love the both of you.
Oh, we love you.
The feeling is mutual, girlfriend.
I do. It's just been so lovely. We just got a comment from Tara Morissette who said, I don't know who Dawn is, LOL. So maybe when she had put up that comment, Dawn just came out. Maybe it was a dawn of a new morning. Maybe that was it. Yeah. Ooh,
We love Dawn too. All good.
Yeah, Dawn's great.
Great.
We're women. We're just lifting each other up as well. Come on, Dawn.
Let's go, Dawn.
Well, we thank you for that, Tara. Tara says that she needed this, and we need you, Tara. We all need to continue to stick together, to share that love, and to move forward with that through this season, Kyla.
Through this season.
Yeah, this is that word, right? Through this time, we all need to do that. So I can't thank you both enough for the time that you've spent with me today. You've lightened my energy. I came into the call today, just feeling so many different ways because of what's going on in the world. But I want to thank you for the love that you've shown me and just for who you are. You two are amazing.
You're
Right back at you,
amazing.
girlfriend. Keep shining your light. We appreciate it. We see your light. We receive your light, and we are shining it right back on you.
Oh, I love it. I feel like we all need to be holding hands and skipping down the street. We'll do that post-COVID, right?
Obviously.
Post-COVID. And, for those of you who want to keep in touch with us, please, please, please do. Jennifer and Kyla are both from the wonderful Tits and Teeth podcast. You can find it at titsandteethpodcast.com. And you have wonderful podcasts that are continuously coming out and so much that's going on. So please visit them, titsandteethpodcast.com. Very exciting stuff. You can also follow the both of you. We had shared your social media platforms earlier, as well as Kyla's as well. We shared yours too. And of course, I'm Nicole Hamilton from Turnout Radio. Thank you again to all of you who spent this time with us today. You can visit Turnout Radio at turnoutradio.com, where we too are putting out some podcasts to continue sharing what we are doing as artists, as human beings, and how we're continuing to move forward in our own journey. You two are spectacular.
You too, girlfriend.
Thank you to you, and thank you to everyone who tuned in today. We love you.
We love you.
We love you. Thanks, everyone. Bye, Kyla. Bye, Jennifer.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Love, love, love.
Bye, everyone. Thanks to our listeners. Bye.
Always remember who you are. Hey. If you